Today, I want to talk about something dear to my heart. I am a very spiritual being. I don't always get to showcase that. But today, I want to take a break from the norm, relationships, and everything, because, like I always say, I truly believe that the work starts with you as an individual. If you don't do the work before you get into a relationship, then you do the work in the relationship. So it's best to work on yourself and understand what you need to work on. And a lot of times people don't know what they need to work on. They're searching, they're trying to figure out a way, a path to helping them become a better person, a better human being. The two things I want to touch upon are karmic dysfunction and karmic resolution. I grew up in an environment that was dysfunctional. My mom and dad, they didn't have the best relationship. And as a result, it impacted me and my sisters. All three of us are impacted differently. My sister Karen, she was in her own world, did her own thing. My other sister, she just, she also did her own thing, but she was more, isolating. She did it by herself. Whereas my other sister, Karen, the one that passed, she would, you could see her doing it. She wasn't hiding that she was doing her own thing. She was literally doing it. And for me, I went inward. I went inside to find out who I was, why I was doing the things I was doing. And it took me years, and I'm still growing, and I'm still growing in that process of trying to understand myself. So for me, there was a lot of dysfunction growing up. And one of the things that I did is I carried on that dysfunction through a certain portion of my life. I didn't stop it because I didn't know how to. I wanted to. I wanted peace. I wanted peace more than anything. But I found myself still engaging in chaotic behavior and bringing that chaos to myself because there was a part of myself I hadn't dealt with. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, because in working with some of my clients and doing the work I do, I realize that sometimes we have these patterns that we get stuck in, patterns of behavior, patterns of the same chaos or the same person or it's always the same scenario playing out time and time again. And at some point I realized, wait a minute, hold up. I've been here before. This is nothing new. I've been in this same place with this same person, doing the same thing, acting the same way, saying the same things, and that person saying the same things to me that the other person said before. And at that point, I took a step back and said, wait a minute. So it's like a time loop. It's like I'm stuck in this pattern where I constantly am trying to resolve the same issue, whatever the issue is. So I had to find out what the issue was in order to resolve it. Because a lot of times when you're stuck in patterns of behavior, it's because the universe is trying to help you to resolve that pattern or to dissipate that pattern. You can't get stuck there, because if you get stuck there, you don't get to grow, you don't get to move far, you don't get to flourish and all the other good stuff. So today I want to talk to you about that pattern. Are you stuck in a pattern? And here's the thing, and understanding why you're stuck in a pattern. I talk about resolution. Resolution is the purpose of the pattern. It is for you to figure out what you need to resolve it quickly, and get the heck out of there. But for many of us, we don't get the heck out of there because we don't know why, like I said earlier. I have this theory, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to propose the theory, but the theory is that we get stuck in these patterns because we're constantly recreating some scene from the past. And that's why you have the same familiar person or familiar things or familiar behavior, because you unconsciously or consciously are creating this environment where you're trying to resolve the issue that wasn't resolved in the other environment, or the one that started this whole pattern. A good example of this is when you're a child, right? And you have issues with your parents, or you heard daddy issues, mommy issues, and then you bring those daddy or mommy issues to a relationship. That's a pattern, and it started with your parents, and you find relationships that have similar characteristics, or people that have similar traits to your parents, either one of them, or it could be somebody else that you're obsessing about. I don't know. And you bring those traits and that characteristics there because you're trying to resolve that karmic dysfunction in the current relationship. Let me take a pause here, because sometimes I need you to catch up. And if you don't, I'm going to say it again. A lot of times you're recreating and restructuring or constructing that whole thing that happened in your childhood in your current relationships or relationship to find resolution, but it's creating more chaos because the original resolution really needs to have occurred between you and your parents. And a lot of times you're not going to be able to resolve those issues, right? Because one of your parents might have passed on. And a lot of times your parents don't really say sorry. My mother never said sorry. It's not a word that was in her vocabulary, not something she understood. So when I had this epiphany I think I was in my 20s, that I wasn't going to get a sorry. So I needed to move past that notion of resolving my issue with her by getting sorry and resolve it within myself. I needed to find out what inside of me kept me stuck to the notion that I needed to have sorry, especially if that sorry wasn't coming and it would be detrimental to my well-being. So I moved past the notion of hearing sorry or getting the forgiveness that I thought I needed from her. And I learned how to forgive myself. I learned how to deal with myself. I learned how to deal with the pain that I had brought from that other situation and was consistently bringing into other relationships, whether it was with my partner or myself or with others. I had to resolve that inner pain in order to stop the cycle and the pattern of behavior from continuing. A lot of people are stuck in patterns and they don't realize that they are, and they don't realize that the other person is really a mirror, not of themselves, but a mirror of the past, or a mirror of a reflection, or some part of the resolution that they have not resolved. And I know this is a lot to take in. I mean, my audience is very intelligent, so I know you get this. But the goal here is how to stop the dysfunction by stopping the pattern. And how do you stop the pattern? You stop the pattern by acknowledging the pain. You start the pattern by going back to the source of the pain, realizing where it started, identifying that pain, and deciding that you want to put an end to that pain. You don't need somebody else to tell you sorry in order to heal. That's the truth. But a lot of people think that they need to hear sorry or they need forgiveness from the other person in order to heal. And a lot of people are saying, no, I don't need sorry. I don't need forgiveness. But guess what? There's a part of you that innately wants that resolution. You want to feel that sense of validation from that person. And even if you say you don't, some people that say they don't really do not. I've met those people. They really don't need validation from an external source in order to heal, but yet they have not healed because of whatever reason. But if you truly desire to heal and you don't want validation, that's one thing. But if you recognize that you need validation because you feel wronged and you're the kind of person that holds on to grudges and you don't know how to let go and you don't know how to forgive and you don't know how to move past your past because the past is something that haunts you and it's something that drives you. And I said this before, when people hold on to their past, it's because they don't want to move forward. And the reason they don't want to move forward and the reason they continue to hold on to their past is because the past acts as a motivator. It is something that fuels their anger. It's something that fuels whatever emotion has driven them for so long. The emotion that drove me for a long time was pain early on. And then when I realized that the pain was more detrimental to my well-being and myself, I let that go. I wanted to stop hurting because hurting myself wasn't an option. And that's the other thing you need to do. You need to recognize that the pain you're experiencing, the pain that you refuse to let go of, is something that's not just hurting other people, because sometimes, hurt people, and that's the thing. But the pain that you're experiencing is more detrimental to you than the other people that are witnessing the pain that's going on inside of you. So you owe it to yourself to make a conscious decision to stop hurting yourself. That's the thing I did. I made a commitment to no longer hurting myself. I chose to stop the pattern by deciding, you know what? I didn't need that external love to feel love. I already had love. I have more love than I can imagine from the universe. So I embraced that love, and I ran with that love. And I said, you know what? I am going to become the very thing that I'm seeking outside of myself. I'm going to become love, and I'm going to give love freely, and I'm going to share love. And that means that it's going to be a continuous boomerang that comes around me, that gives back to me, so that I can become the very thing that I lacked as a child. And that's who I am. That's where I am. That's why I'm wearing the red, to show you that it's a powerful emotion, love. It's an emotion that allows you to heal. It's an emotion that allows you to stop the patterning that you're doing in your relationships. And it's an emotion that truly is intended for your liberation. The other thing is, recognizing what you bring to the table is important. If you have come out of a traumatic or a dysfunctional or toxic relationships, whether as a child or, a young person, adult or young adult or older person, the truth of the matter is sometimes you have to take inventory. You have to look at yourself, and you have to, I talk about this all the time. The word is accountability. You have to take accountability. You have to ask yourself, what am I bringing each time to the table? Every time I engage in a relationship, what am I bringing? I'm not just bringing myself. I'm not just bringing my good looks. I'm not just bringing my charisma. What else am I bringing to this relationship? Take inventory. If you're bringing your fear of abandonment, your fear of rejection, your insecurity, your distrust, pause, take a step back, and realize that the outcome has already been predetermined by you. You can determine the outcome by choosing not to bring the elements that are going to destroy or wreak havoc on the relationship you're trying to develop. As always, my name is Ingrid Felton. Thank you so very much for showing up to my YouTube channel, for subscribing, for liking the videos, for telling other people about what I'm doing here. I always hope that something I said will make a difference in your life, and if not in your life, somebody else's life. Share. Sharing is caring, caring is sharing. Share the information here. Stop the whole aspect of patterning. Start repeating the patterns of behavior, and understand understand what is needed in order to do so. Identifying where you first encounter the trauma or the pain, recognizing that the trauma and pain doesn't have a hold on you, that you can determine how to deal with it, recognize the pain and choose to heal from that pain, and embrace love as though it was your best friend, as though it was the only thing that you needed to live, more important than ear. Bye.